Hello witches and magical souls, and welcome to Wayward Witchery. I am Pandora Darkmoon, tarot reader, witchcraft mentor, and lifelong witch. This space is for anyone on their soul's journey. Whether you're a curious beginner, have been dancing with the moon for years, or simply feel the magic without needing to name it. Today, we're diving into Unbinding, releasing the stories that hold you. So grab a cuppa, settle in, and let's get witchy. There is a kind of spell we all cast, not with candles or herbs, but with words, emotions, and belief. It's the kind of spell that weaves itself quietly around the edges of our identity, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world around us. It's the spell of story. We all have them. Stories we've whispered into our reflection, stories inherited from parents or partners or teachers. They sound like the truth, but often they are just echoes of old experiences we never questioned. They begin with little phrases like, "I've always been like this," or "People like me don't get that kind of luck," or "I'm just not good at love." Tiny sentences, heavy chains. Sometimes these stories begin as protection. They give us boundaries when we need them. They make sense of the chaos. A witch who's been burnt might tell herself she prefers solitude. A sensitive soul who was once mocked for their empathy might say they don't care anymore. A creative who's been dismissed might quietly start believing their dreams are unrealistic. And in the moment, that's okay. Those bindings help us survive. But survival magic is not meant to be worn forever. At some point, the spell turns inward, and what once protected us begins to restrict the breath. Unbinding starts with noticing. The first flicker of awareness that says, "Wait, this story I keep repeating, whose voice is that? Is it yours? Or is it the voice of someone who once convinced you that your light was too bright, or your truth too strange, or your worth conditional?" We internalize so many of those whispers that we forget they ever came from outside of us. And before long, the story becomes our identity, and we guard it fiercely because it feels like safety. But safety is not always the same as freedom. If you want to begin unbinding, start by listening, really listening, to the language you use about yourself. You can even write it down. Notice the patterns, the always, the never, the should. Those words are like cords. Once you see them, you can start to untie them. This is not about pretending your pain didn't happen, or chanting positivity over your wounds. It's about realizing that while your past can explain you, it does not have to define you. You are not your story. You are the storyteller. When I talk about unbinding, I'm not just speaking metaphorically. Energy responds to belief. The moment you choose to question an old narrative, you shift your vibration, subtly but powerfully. You might even feel it physically, a deep breath that suddenly feels easier, a warmth in your chest when you finally admit you don't believe that old story anymore. That's your energy field realigning, your soul exhaling. Unbinding is a reclamation of your own power, and like any spell with casting, it does take patience. There's a stage of this process I call the tangle. It's the part where you know the story isn't true anymore, but you don't yet know who you'll be without it. It's messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes you'll want to crawl back into your old bindings just because they were familiar. That's normal. Every transformation has a stage where you feel both too big and too small for your skin. That's your soul molting. It is a sacred shedding. So when you catch yourself spiraling, just breathe. You're not backsliding. You are loosening the knots. Here's a small ritual you can try. No tools required. When you notice a limiting story arise, maybe, "I'm not ready," or "I always ruin things," pause. Feel where that story lives in your body. Is it a tightness in your chest? A heaviness in your stomach? Place your hand there. Take a slow, deep breath and whisper to yourself, "I release the need to hold this story as truth." You don't need to replace it immediately. Let that silence breathe for a while. You've just created space, and space is sacred. Later, when you feel ready, you can plant a new seed of belief. I am learning to trust myself. It is safe to grow. I am allowed to change. Tiny spells, quiet revolutions. When you start unbinding, don't expect fireworks. Sometimes it's subtle, like a fog slowly clearing. You'll notice that you speak more kindly to yourself, or that certain situations no longer drain you. You'll find yourself responding differently, not because someone told you to, but because you have shifted. That's what real freedom feels like. Unbinding isn't a single moment. It's a practice. It's choosing, again and again, not to tighten the rope. And the more you do it, the lighter your energy becomes. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally, as the witch weaving her own story, instead of the one caught in somebody else's spell. So, if you've been feeling tangled, exhausted, or caught in repeating patterns, take heart. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply being called to unbind. Every knot you untie brings you closer to your truest essence, the one that existed before fear and shame learned your name. And as you unravel, don't rush to fill the silence. Let the space itself teach you what freedom sounds like. That is where new magic begins. Thanks for joining me at Wayward Witchery today. I hope something in this episode stirred your soul. If you're feeling called to go deeper, I offer tarot, clairvoyant, spiritual growth, and witchcraft mentorship sessions via Zoom, email, or pre-recorded video. You can find all the details on waywardwitchery.com. Until next time, may your knots loosen easily, your truth rise gently, and your heart remember, you are the storyteller.